You can probably spot that we are in Guatiza today. We're doing another one of our village walkthroughs. And we're starting at the Jardín de Cactus, the cactus gardens. Kind of typical June day here. Quite warm, lots of blue sky, but windy. We've got the trade winds at the moment. The cactus gardens, of course, were Manrique's last great work. And Guatisa is one of those places that's kind of long. It's about a kilometre long, so we've got plenty of walking to do. We're not going to go into the gardens today because we'll save that for another day. And we'll just walk along the main road here back up to into Guatiza and show you what's there. And stay tuned because we're going to show you one of the best sociedades on the island, amongst other things, during our walk. Now, Guatiza is characterised by fields and fields of prickly pear cactuses on both sides of the road. And that's because if you go back in history, Guatiza was the centre of the cochineal beetle trade. And the beetles live on these cactuses, and they used to be crushed to make a red or purple dye or food colouring. Just pause while that very noisy truck goes past me. At the point, Guatiza was not just the centre of cochineal trade in Lanzarote, it was the centre, one of the centres of cochineal trade in the world. And it made this village extremely prosperous right up until the 18th century when a scientist discovered a way to make a red dye synthetically, and the bottom dropped out of the market, but the fields are still here. Some of them are still being worked for cochineal, and others, like this one here, they've replaced the cactuses with vines. Me is the village of Mala, which we started from the cactus gardens. Mala is only a few hundred metres on from that, and I always think of these two villages, Guatiza and Mala, as kind of one, because they're almost joined together but not quite. This road, when we first moved to the north of the island 20 years ago, this was the only way you could get to the north. So you used to run through the villages. I would do it twice a day, going to and from work along here. But now over to my right, there is a bypass that was built some time ago now, which is much faster. And this road through the villages has been converted into a carretera bici. So bicycles have the priority. They're not allowed on the main road over to my right anymore. They are restricted to coming this way if they want to go to the north, but they do have a priority, and it's a 50km/h limit all the way through it for cars, so be aware of that if you're coming to visit the cactus gardens. And like all Spanish villages, or many Spanish villages, there is an asadero de pollos here, a chicken shack that sells spit roast chicken. It's closed today actually, and let's see why. Cerrado por descanso, so it's actually closed for a rest. I quite like the honesty in that. Right next door to it is the village supermarket, which is a very good one actually. Now, because of that prosperity from cochineal historically, there are some quite grand houses here. They don't tend to be on the main road at the front here. They're over to my left. You can see the church in the distance there. We're heading in that direction in a moment. Because really all you've got along here is the road through it, and there are houses on either side, and there's a couple of bars. Used to be a branch of our bank here, but that's no longer there. Up here we have Bar El Bulin, which is a very well-known local bar here. Great place to stop for a menu del dia or just a drink or a tea or coffee. We're actually going to head down this side street into the village proper. More grapes here. This house on the corner with the sort of red on the sides and that lovely Canarian balcony was the village mill at one time, hence the millstones placed outside. It has a lovely little courtyard there with 3 Canarian palms in it. And these big houses on both sides of the road here will all have central patios or courtyards in the traditional Canarian style. What I love about them, and though they look in good condition and they look reasonable from the outside, it's when you go inside that your breath tends to be taken away by how lovely they are. The walkway up to the church is lovely. Always love these benches outside the church. Come up here in an afternoon and you'll often see older folk chilling out on them under the shade. Excellent kids playground here. And I promised to show you the Sociedad. This is one of the best Sociedads on the island. They're terrific value for money, but they do fantastic steaks. They seem to specialise in steaks, and you can choose a variety of sauces to go with your entrecôte or solomillo fillet steak. Very noisy place. You'll find a lot of people playing dominoes and that kind of stuff. And this is it. Obviously it's closed at the moment. It's quite relatively early in the morning. The Centro Social Cultural. And it's right next door to the post office. So we have a bazaar here. That's usually shorthand for a shop that sells pretty much anything they want to. Hairdressers. There's a lovely old house which looks like they're living in half of it and the other half is awaiting restoration. And another one awaiting restoration on the left there. Gradually, it's taking time, but these older stone-built houses are being picked up by people and restored, or the family get together and put the money into a restoration to bring them back to life. Doesn't happen fast enough for me, but it is happening. An interesting juxtaposition between those traditional houses and then suddenly you come into a very modern house made with blocks and with all the mod cons like solar energy. I don't know the correct name for these giant cactuses, but they're known locally as mother-in-law's seats. And there are 3 really enormous ones in the front of this front garden of this property here. Impressive. I bet they weigh a bit. And here's another lovely old house awaiting restoration on Calle Princesa Guayamina. You can see how they are built of individual stones put together with a lime render on the surface. And that outbuilding there has got the original wooden beams that stick out through between the stones. And there's quite a large aljibe at the back, a water storage device there. So presumably that house would have been, it had a small tower on it, that would have been an upstairs bedroom, there would have been a patio in it. And these fields would have been the fields that they lived off. The cactuses sadly have died now. They would have been full of cactuses and have been tended, I would guess, by the owners of that house. And this is a much more modern house, but it also has an aljibe, that big sort of concrete thing in the front there with a well cover over it. And then that large concrete area would once have fed water, it probably still does actually, fed water into the aljibe to give them independent water supply. In fact, that place is a restoration. I don't think it is a modern house, that it's been restored to that. So that shows you what could be done with these old buildings, because that's got the little tower on it and then another upstairs section and an original Canarian balcony. What I've done here is cross the main road to the other side to see what's in this part of the village, and this is typical of the sort of houses I was referring to at the beginning. Very grand place. Look at the size of that. Tower bedroom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bedrooms on the front. And a lovely garden. Don't often see that. One of those Toyota pickups that's actually died. Normally they just live forever. That one obviously expired and has been there for many years, just as somewhere to chuck a load of scaffolding. Brought us back out to the main road to Bulin. So we're pretty much at the end of Guatiza now. We've walked from one end to the other. If you go another, I don't know, 700-800 metres from where I am now, you'll come to a roundabout that will take you up to the main road. There's also a really good gas station there that has a shop that sells pretty much anything you could possibly want, and has car washes and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting, I hadn't noticed this before, and I've been coming through this village for years, but all the roads here are named after the Majos, the original inhabitants of the Canary Islands. So Guatisa was one of the kings of the Majos, and we saw Princesa Guayamina, which is over there on the left actually. Yeah, and all the names seem to be from those original people, like Teguise, Princesa Teguise, and Princesa Ico, who were on the island at the time the Spanish conquered it in 1402. So those are original Guanche names, Guanche words. And I do love the view of the hills from here, and you can see the terraces in the distance there, which were once used to grow lots and lots of food to eat, potatoes, tomatoes and so on, but sadly are now neglected, and a lot of those things, although they're still grown on the island, a chunk of them are imported now. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. If you are coming to visit the cactus gardens again, and if you haven't, you really should, I would recommend that you stop at El Bulin or for a drink, or you stop at the Sociedad that I showed you and enjoy one of their epic steaks, which are super value, pardon me, which are super value for money. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you for watching, and from Guatiza and another of our village walks, bye for now.